Towards the end of last year, I spoke with Jonny Longden, co-founder and director of agency Journey Further. Now, some 9 months later, I catch up with him to discuss how CRO has become more mainstream during COVID and about the upcoming challenges around the greatest sales period ahead. So Jonny, on our last podcast, that was probably about 6-7 months ago, I think something like that, we discussed many things, including the effects of COVID on the online business. But the expected steep decline in online sales as a percentage of retail after the lockdown does not, well, at least for now, seem to have materialised. I know whilst the UK figures are showing a 2% reduction from 2020, the figures are still 4% higher than they were pre-COVID. Now, I suppose some 9 months later and the pandemic at least abating somewhat, do you feel that online businesses now need to concentrate more on profit than they do on turnover?
Yeah, I think, I think, from speculating point of view, what's happened is, people think, well, everybody's in lockdown, so, they're going to buy things online, but as soon as it's over, they'll go back to the shops. But I don't think that's true at all. I think basically you've got whole swathes of people who had never really tried buying things online or never really felt that comfortable with it, who suddenly then had to do it, who were forced to do it, and realized how easy it was, and then suddenly got into it and do it all the more. So you've basically just got like whole new sort of sections of the market suddenly online and sort of regularly buying things online. And I don't think that's going to change. Like a lot of people, it takes doing it to realize how easy it is. A really good example, just personal example, like I never ever buy clothes in physical stores. In fact, there's very very little that I ever buy in a physical store. But lots of people are like, oh my gosh, don't you need to try the clothes on and stuff? And it's like, well, no. So what I personally do, I just buy loads of stuff off ASOS, like absolutely loads of stuff. It all comes and gets dropped off at my doorstep. I try it all on. Like I send 70% of it back and it gets collected from my doorstep. It's so easy. And you tell people that and they're like, oh right, I didn't realize you could do that. And so it's like that sort of stuff. People have done that and gone, actually, this is way easier than I thought it was.
I think I've got a bit of a story there. My wife was very much a retail physical shopper, really enjoyed shopping. Online came along and she does exactly what you do, but she has this perception that if she sends something back, so she buys at least 2 sizes of a single item, then she'll go and take one of those back if it doesn't fit, perhaps even both, send them back. But then she thinks, oh, actually, I've now got another £100 in my purse because I've sent something back. I'll go and buy something else. And then she buys another 2 items. So I think we're going to have to move house to a house with more wardrobe space fairly shortly, because we've got 7 bedrooms and I won't say every bedroom, but we're certainly getting the wardrobes filled up little by little over the years that we've been here. So yes, she's just seamlessly moved from being a physical shopper to being an online shopper, but now enjoys the best of both by being able to go in and try stuff on and even bring it back and then send it back.
There's also like, shopping for clothes in shops is hideous, right? And it's like, it's always really hot in the changing rooms and you get really stressed. And then you like just end up thinking like, I'm just going to buy something because I'm not going to go home without nothing. And then you buy anything and then you don't really like it. And so it's just all a really inefficient sort of process. And things like electronics, like if you go into like Comet, or does that still exist? I don't know whichever ones it is.
I don't think it does.
But those places, and then you want, I don't know, like an alarm clock. Then there's a shelf with like 3 on, and
Yes.
you don't know anything about them. You don't know whether they're any good. You just look at them and go, that one looks good. Whereas online, you get to see reviews, you get to see what other people thought of it, and all that kind of stuff. So it's just, there's so much about shopping online that is just way more efficient and effective. And people realize that. But back to your actual question, I think businesses should always focus on profit and rarely do. So a lot of the business we start working with, they sort of really want to work with us because they want to increase the conversion rates and they want to increase sales. But hardly anybody ever thinks about increasing profitability. And so you kind of ask questions around, which are your most profitable product lines, or what is your strategy for profit? And although there probably is one, it's rarely kind of articulated in a way or trickled down to a layer within businesses that that can be articulated and communicated well. So
it's rarely front and center anymore, is it? From an online perspective, anyway. It's all about acquisition, I think.
Yeah, no, and it's a great example actually. So we've got a client who are an e-commerce retailer, but they manufacture their own products and sell them themselves online on their own website, but also through various different other third-party retailers. And they've sort of strangely they've created different brand names for all these different products, so they kind of dissociate themselves as a company from their products via these different brand names. And the reason their website exists is because it has a huge cost per acquisition benefit over third-party retail, because obviously they're massively discounting when they're wholesaling to the likes of Amazon and Argos and all those kind of people. So the website really exists because it has a better cost per acquisition than those third parties. But then if you just look at sort of how marketing's working and stuff like that, it's sort of really sort of generic in the sense of there might be running PPC and doing return on ad spend and things like that. But when you really think about that strategy of trying to effectively steal share from third party retailers, then you think, well, actually, there's got to be other things that are more important. So a share of search over those third-party retailers, basically being more prominent in search results than those third-party retailers, is far more important than just pulling in traffic at a good return on ad spend. Return on ad spend doesn't deliver against the profit strategy. The other thing does. So, and all across the board, like the way you measure what you do and the way you improve what you do should speak to a core sort of business and profit strategy. And rarely does. Similarly, like just improving conversion, great, but actually there's a huge benefit there in that, like if they can capture somebody's interest and then educate them about the rest of the product line, then again they're not having to spend to acquire customers, and they're generating awareness of them as a brand and the different products that they've got over and above that just all going through third parties. So there's all that kind of thing where you have to really think about, like, what are you actually doing and how does it ladder back up to profit strategy. But back to your actual question, I don't think that really is any different pre-COVID, post-COVID. I think all businesses should do that and should focus on that. I think what is different post-COVID is that a lot of businesses have woken up to the fact that digital is the future and it should be a really fundamental part of their business, and particularly businesses that have had a combination of different channels. So, they might have had physical retail and digital. And that's really kind of what we're seeing in terms of the industry that supports digital, that you've just got a huge amount more investment going into digital. I mean, it's crazy because digital is a sort of a weird word now, like what isn't digital, but you kind of get what I mean. And so there's a lot of investment going into the digital side of the business. There's a lot of recruitment happening. There's it's very hard to find candidates. There's a lot of extra business being put into agencies like our agency and things like that. So it's definitely got a huge focus that will not go away just because COVID's gone away now. And I think that is because effectively the customer market has changed.
But do you think that the traditional bricks and mortar businesses who have now gone online as well as everybody else have a greater focus on profitability, because that's been the core of their business, where there's a lot of startup businesses which seem to be hung up on grabbing acquisition and turnover? And obviously you need to do that to be able to build a business. But I feel that there are lots of people who are forsaking profitability for the sake of turnover.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly, from my personal experience, I rarely see businesses focusing on profitability in a way that actually trickles down into what they're actually doing from an operational point of view and an execution point of view. So, like I say, everybody wants to increase the volume of traffic.
You're listening to the shortened version of this podcast. To listen to the full version, visit your favourite podcast player and search for Webtrends Optimize or The Big Lift.